Did you really ghost?
I did say ghost. I did.
He counted us off 1, 2, 3, ghost.
I did. It's a strange evening. Mercury is in retrograde right now, guys, so things
God damn it.
are weird.
I feel like Mercury has been in retrograde for the past,
all of your life?
10 months, at least. At least, babe.
I mean, I feel it. I definitely feel it. So,
yeah,
but
I'm just trying to... When is it out of retrograde?
Metrograde?
Metrograde. That sounds like a really cool, gay bar in the city.
Metrograde.
We should trademark it.
I think so. I like it.
Metrograde. When is Mercury out of retrograde?
It's here for a few days. I think it's I know it started, I think, on the 22nd. So maybe 26th or 27th.
Honey, I'm going to need Miss Mercury to get her ass up out of retrograde, please. Thank y'all.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not going well. I'm dying. If you can't hear, I'm sure you can hear. I am very ill. I'm so sick that I went to the doctor, which is not a usual thing that happens with me.
No, and let me be here to tell you guys, if she goes to the doctor, shit is real.
Yeah, probably I'm there's a limb that's not attached if I'm going to the doctor. So I actually I broke down. I've been sick for a week or so. Essentially right after last episode, I got sick right after we recorded. And I kept downing this super severe, mega Robitussin that'll bring you back from the dead. And popping all these pills and over the counter stuff to try to feel better, and it just wasn't working. And yesterday my head was hurting so bad, so I went to the doctor. I broke down and actually went to a prime care or whatever, and they told me that my oxygen level was 96.
96?
No, it was 93. Yeah, it was not good. Yeah. So I think the first time they tested it was 90, and then they were take some deep breaths, and then it was 93. And they were and so my doctor mentions this offhand to me, just very casually as a concern. And I was well, what's it supposed to be? Totally genuinely. And she was 100.
100. Ma'am, 100.
Totally unironically is just 100. But she couldn't blame me for, being a little slow to pick up on things because clearly I'm not properly oxygenated.
Maybe you need to go to one of those little oxygen bars. Have you heard about those? With the little...
Oh, yeah. I heard about those a couple years ago. They were a big thing.
It's a little weird to me. I
would go.
It's very dystopian to me to let's go to an oxygen bar. You know what I mean? I don't know.
But they say you get high. You it's really pure oxygen, and so you get super high and turn into a Superman, and shit heals. So one of the treatments for when they do surgery is they'll put you in an oxygen. What do they call it? It's not an oxygen tank. It's they put you in this room, and then they pump it full of 100% oxygen, and it actually heals your body quicker and makes you slightly superhuman.
Sounds good to me.
Right? So I feel if you went to oxygen bars, you might be healthier.
I wonder if DC is bound to have one of those somewhere. I'm sure.
We should
maybe look it up.
I mean, I would go. I won't smoke hookah, but I'll do an oxygen bar.
Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
I'll smoke oxygen. Don't introduce fire anywhere in that situation.
No, that would be a quick way to... Flammable. That'd be a quick way to introduce yourself to our topic for the day, wouldn't it?
Oh, I see what you did there. That was very clever. That was very clever. So today, on The Haunted Heart, we like to talk about the macabre. We like to talk about darker subjects.
Yeah, last week we gave you some, kids killing their parents. Good old, just hits right at the core of what we are here at the Haunted Heart. We just really like to, just go all out.
Right. Right. So we figured we would strip it back to basics this week, and we would go for a topic that is near and dear to our hearts, and that is death itself.
Death. Yes.
Specifically, the worst ways to die.
Do you what would be the worst way to die? I think science probably has answered this. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a scientific answer for the worst way to die.
I actually searched for that. There were a couple, but no definitive, specific. Like, the ones that you think would be on there, like starvation is on there, and crucifixion is on there, which is a really terrible way. But for me, like, there's always been, I've thought about it a lot this week to try to, like, triangulate what my specific worst way would be. And I think it would be drowning. Anything involving drowning, just, like, I think it's because maybe, like, as a kid, there was this one time when I was at a water park and there was, like, the wave pool. And, like, you can go into the wave pool. This was the 90s, so, like, there was no law. There was no order.
No,
there was only chaos.
Only chaos. So
you could go into the wave pool, and it was, like, this one big area that they had, like, sectioned off. And they had, like, one of those little pool, like, those shitty little pool ropes that doesn't even go all the way down. It just sits on top of the water to section off where people would go into the wave pool, like, just themselves and, like, swim. And then the section with the rafts. Mm-hmm. So the problem with that is that the little rope, the cute little rope thing, lays on top of the water. And when a big wave comes and knocks you under the water, and then you are pushed under the rope to the raft section, then you can't come up because the entire surface of the water is blocked with rafts. And that's exactly what happened to me when I was a kid. And, like, I remember that panic of, like, trying to come up for air and not being able to get any. And, I mean, luckily I was able to, like, push somebody off of their raft and, like...
You were able to save your life by killing someone else.
I was able to fight my way out of it, but, like, it was, like, that moment of panic where you don't think that you're going to breathe again was so... Like, I still remember that feeling. So for me, I think anything involving, like, a drowning death would
be. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I'm gonna tell you what, I know those wave pools. Mm-hmm. The rough cement floor that was, like, not smooth at all, despite being, like, constantly moved, like being, you know, like
worn down by water
and waves. You would think it would be smooth. No. Blood everywhere.
It was like the ceiling of a house in the 70s.
It's like
it was so
right. It was like someone took, like, a really bad jagged popcorn ceiling.
Yes.
And
it had that same texture.
And put water in it and said, "Here you go. Swim in this with your bare feet.
Play in this 90s child. Have fun."
Absolutely awful.
Have fun.
I remember those scrapes.
God.
And the blood.
Yeah.
I remember the blood.
I remember the blood.
I feel like mine's kind of the same.
Drowning.
Yeah, like it's, and I can see why that would be. I can see why we would probably both feel that way, but drowning is what I immediately go to when I think about it, because or
I think my problem with drowning is that, like, I feel like from what I've read about it, you're conscious a lot of the time, whereas with some of the other deaths, like with fire and things like, and explosions and things like that, like your nerve endings are damaged pretty quickly. Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily, you're not in pain for as long, I feel like. Or you pass out due to smoke inhalation or whatever.
Right.
But, like, with drowning, I feel like it's like you have those few moments of, like,
it's more
sheer
mental
panic.
Than that. You know what I mean? Like, you're more...
It's totally a mental
because
thing.
You're drowning. It's water, so it's quiet, first of all.
Right.
And the only thing that you can hear is your own body trying to gasp for air.
Yeah.
And it's very much that sort of, like you said, isolated feeling. So if I had to say one, it would probably be drowning. But a close one, and depending on the day, might be the first, might get the number one spot. Would be falling to my death.
Really?
Yeah. There's something that's like, I don't know. There's something about, it's weird because I'm not necessarily afraid of heights. Like, I can be on a plane and be perfectly fine. But when it's like, if I'm on a building and I'm like, just the thought of like falling, I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
The thought of just like,
there.
falling
It's
to your death just really sends a bad chill up my spine. I don't know. And I hear that they say that you more than likely like pass out before you would ever hit the ground, depending on where you where you fall from.
Yeah. Actually, I think that was disproven, though. Like, I know that used to be a thing, but I was reading an article about that, and I think that's actually been disproven. That you don't pass out as much. You don't pass out as soon as, like, people say that you pass out.
Yeah, that's
that
why,
you're
like,
awake for more of it than you think.
When we were talking on the episode about sleep disorders and all of that, and you mentioned that girl that fell asleep on the crane.
Yeah.
And, like, waking up
Horrifying.
and then, like, oh, my God, like, that's what was so horrifying to me. Because there's something about, like, okay, yes, drowning is awful, but, there's always, I guess, a sliver of chance, depending on the situation, that you may be revived after. You know what I mean? Or, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you can...
Like in The Abyss when Ed Harris beat that woman back to life.
Somebody...
That is one of my all-time favorite movie scenes. If I ever am deceased, like, I need you to, like, just straddle me Ed Harris style and just beat the shit out of me and curse at me until I come back to life.
Right.
Please do. I feel like it's gonna work out.
There's always that chance, but I feel like with falling to your death, you're done.
Yeah, you're
like
done.
you're just like that's okay. Game over. Yeah. Literally game over at that point.
Yeah.
You're Mario when you fall off into the.
Yeah, there's something about I'm not as scared of that personally. Like, that's not a big phobia for me, mostly because I just avoid super tall buildings and don't stand in front of things that people could push me off of. But
like the subway,
I always think about that.
So
yeah,
like when we were in DC this past weekend, I was telling everyone like how just nervous and anxious I get like when I have to walk the furthest away because I just feel like I'm going to fall in.
Yeah.
And it still goes back to falling for some reason, but like I don't know.
Well, that's a different thing because there's a massive train that's going to just completely splatter you.
Yeah. But it's still that same idea of like falling off of something. So I'm not really sure what that has to do psychologically with me. I'm sure it's somewhere in there. Buried deep.
Well,
buried deep, real deep in there.
Watching that, like seeing people fall is an issue for me. Like, I'm like, as I'm sure everybody is, but like one of the things that was so I think that goes back to being a kid during September 11th because like what was one of the most haunting things from that whole day, and it was a whole day of just absolute terror. But what has stuck with me so much and what's like the thing that just like still to this day will like trigger a reaction in me still were the jumpers on that day. And that like that image is something that's kind of like burned in my brain, and even though it's not something that I particularly, the falling thing isn't like a thing for me, but it's like that's always like horrifying. So
yeah, I definitely agree. I was going to mention that too. So
yeah, but I think So what way would
know
you
what
prefer to die, though?
Oh, gosh.
Like, if you could pick a way to go, what way? I mean, other than the obvious of, like, in your bed asleep.
I would have to say maybe by dysentery on the Oregon Trail.
You want to die of dysentery on the Oregon Trail?
How awesome would that be?
No, it's actually horrible. It's actually quite terrible.
But do you remember that, though? Like, being in school and, like,
I do.
you have to play the Oregon Trail game, and it's like, you die of this horrible disease of dysentery or, whatever.
Yeah. I was really mad.
Yeah, no. Because that's, like, where you shit yourself to death, right?
Yes. You just shit yourself until you have no... I think you dehydrate yourself, actually. Like, I think that's how you actually die, is you just dehydrate your body. Because that's why they always tell you, like, when you have stomach flu and stuff like that, is to stay hydrated is the main thing, because you can get super dehydrated.
I'm going to tell you what, just poison me in, like, a very nice way.
Send you out that way.
Just in a very nice way. Give me a nice meal that's going to be warm, taste good. Let me at least finish it first.
Yeah.
Before it happens, so something that maybe that's a little slow, but then just sort of, like, put you out.
Just turn.
I mean, unless it's going to be, like, violent and I'm, like, convulsing and I got foam coming from my mouth. That might be a different story, but, you know.
Yeah, no, nothing like that. No.
Probably that. What about you?
I think I would want to be... I think I would want to be just smothered in all of my favorite male celebrities
until you just die.
Until I just want to pile them on top of myself until I just can't breathe.
So death by crushing.
No, I in my head it's more smothering, but maybe just a pile of beautiful bodies, and at the bottom myself, passing away into the ether.
Well, so listen, you're passing away to a bunch of gorgeous, men, and I'm kicking the bucket while I'm having my favorite meal. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like it says a lot about how we lived.
I think so too. Think so too. And by the way, I'm not even going to tell you guys about, well, I guess I am, about the glorious look that she gave me when I talked about poisoning, because I think that's how she's going to kill me, and that's her plan. So, I mean, be on the lookout.
It's just good to know that you're on the same page.
It's good to know that you're on the same page with how I'm going to kill you.
Good to know that you're okay with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. As long as it's a good meal.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, I would do you right. I'd get you good. I'd get you a Cornish hen.
A nice Cornish hen. Make it interesting. Make it really interesting.
No, I would get you steak. I would get you that
nice ribeye
that
steak.
good ribeye.
Give me a good ribeye.
I would, and I would get you the au jus sauce.
Maybe I could die in like that telephone video where everybody's just eating their food and then it's just like,
oh yeah,
and they just pass out.
Yeah, in a stylistic dance video. Mode.
Please, if you kill me that way, please do that.
Okay, I'll arrange it. I'll call Lady Gaga.
Mm-hmm.
We're on it.
That's very that'll be very creative. I'm about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know though that sort of segues into my topic for this evening? Is the Persians and their crazy, very ancient ways, very creative ways that they have been known to kill people.
Was that a segue, or are we just calling it a segue?
I'm calling it a segue.
I'm just trying to figure out how we got.
But that makes it a segue. But that makes it a segue.
You just call it one.
I call it a segue.
Fine.
That makes it a segue. Trash talent.
Trash talent.
Yes, exactly. We do what we want here on this motherfucking podcast. So.
That's like the subtitle.
It's the truth.
All right. Tell us about
That's the caption for this week's episode.
In episode 6, we do what we want on this motherfucking podcast.
Exactly. So one of the most famous ways to die, or I guess infamous ways. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's called the boats. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
So, so it's probably the best known out of all of their punishments. And you can't really compare this to anything else. Like, it's kind of like it's its own really, really, really shitty way to die.
Okay.
So, and it was typically reserved for the people that the king at the time, or whoever was sentencing the punishment, really hated. Like, if this was that fucking bitch that cut you off on the road with the Maryland license plate, this is what you would say. This is the punishment that you would give.
Oh, I'm ready, because Maryland and I, we have a difficult relationship. Any listeners from Maryland, we love you. We hope you're not driving right now, or maybe ever. No. I'm just kidding.
We just have really bad experiences with Maryland drivers up here in DC. And they probably say the same thing about us.
I mean, probably so.
But what?
But literally every time you're on the road and something crazy happens, like a van tries to, at a stoplight, at a dead stop, get 4 lanes over so that they can make a left turn because they just realized that they want to do that, and they end up blocking 3 lanes of traffic with their van, it's always going to be a Maryland tag. I have never been proven wrong.
Yep. I've been all the way in North Carolina and have been in that shit, and then look.
It's true.
It's a Maryland tag.
There's photographic evidence. He literally texted me.
So yeah, this is, you would say this for them. So the victim would be stripped naked. And then
I'm into it so far.
Okay, all right. They'd be stripped naked, and then they would be placed inside of a hollowed out, either a tree trunk or 2 boats, hence the name the boats.
Oh, okay.
So they'd be stripped naked, and then they would lay them in the bottom of the boat. And they would cut holes, or they would make it so that their heads, their hands, and their feet were exposed. And then they would cover the rest.
Oh, so it's like a banana costume, but made out of boats.
Yeah, kind of.
In my head, that's what I'm seeing.
So they would be exposed to the sun. So then they would be force-fed milk and honey until the concoction gave them...
I mean, I'm not mad at it yet. Like, I'm trying to figure out...
Well,
I mean, the boats are a little weird, but, like, I'm cool with the milk and honey.
So, yeah, but apparently that mixture, if you have a lot of it, causes really bad diarrhea. So they would be force-fed milk and honey and until they literally became buried in their own filth, because they would cover that part of the body. Because remember, the only parts that are sticking out are your head, your hands, and your arms. And so they would put another boat on top of you. And so you're laying there, essentially shitting yourself. And they would keep doing it. They would keep force feeding you milk and honey. Okay, so that's part 1. So then the torturers would take the said honey, rub it all over the exposed parts of the body to lure over insects. And they would typically do this near water, so you're literally in the boat, and they would, push you out. They would rub your exposed parts with the honey to lure over insects. So bugs would crawl over the convict and then slowly eat away at their flesh, while wasps would agonize with their stingers, and all sorts of manner of bugs and just nastiness would just crawl.
I mean, also
all
there's the
over
fact
you.
that you're covered in honey, which is just awful to begin with.
Uh-huh.
I was the kid who couldn't eat, I couldn't eat the French toast sticks in grade school because I could not deal with like the boxed maple syrup, like the sticky fingers. Oh,
yeah.
To this day, it's my least favorite thing about children. Like the sticky fingers thing. If I ever have children, I'm gonna like wipe their hands with a wet wipe like every 5 seconds. I will be Howard Hughes on those children's hands.
Mm-hmm. So, and then they would keep doing this. So like this was a prolonged thing. So this wasn't like the milk and the honey kept you alive because just like enough because it's nutrition. So you wouldn't
but I'm surprised
die
they didn't
of hunger.
Get dehydrated from like shitting themselves.
That was kind of like the slow part of it because the milk sort of alleviate like you know what I mean, like it helped a little bit, but in the end was still killing you.
Yeah.
So and then after a few days, a lot of it was psychological. So the victim's mind would start to deteriorate, but he would still be alive. And like I said, it could take weeks before they would finally give out and die. The first time this was happened, it took 17 days of agony and praying for death before the victim's prayers were finally answered.
17 days?
17 days.
And does it say if like the victim
and I think it
died because of the torture or if they just put him out of his misery?
It doesn't say. I think he probably died. Like, but yeah, so that's like the most famous one is the boats.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Persians.
they were very creative. There was another one that was really sort of, I guess brutal would be the word. Metal, some people might say.
Metal! Yes.
So this one was actually for us. This happened to a specific, this happened to one person. So this Persian judge was...
it's bad, because they did it to that one guy, and then they were like, we shouldn't...
Well, once they did it, nobody ever...
Oh, we shouldn't do this anymore.
Yeah. So, nobody... Yeah.
It's bad, because they felt bad enough about it
but
not to do it again.
He didn't even do anything that was, like...
Really that bad? What did he do?
He just... He accepted a bribe.
Oh.
But he was a judge. And he accepted a bribe. So the king was absolutely determined to make an example of him. So, because as a judge, you should be fair, right? And impartial. So he was going to make sure that the next judge would not follow suit. So he was killed, but that was the start. So
he was dead when it happened?
Yeah. Well,
he
was
cool.
killed, but okay.
It's cool that he was dead.
His throat was slit, and then he was his skin was filleted. Every bit of skin he had was filleted, and they made them into strips of human leather. So then he had them sew together a chair made of this judge's skin.
Oh, okay, Ed Gein. Ed Gein. I see you. How you doing?
From then on, the new judge would have to sit on a chair made of human flesh.
They gave it to the new guy? Oh, shit.
Here's the kicker. The replacement was that guy's own son.
Oh, man.
So he had to preside over all of Persia's trials and had to sit on a chair made of his father's flesh.
Man, that is a bummer.
How fucking metal.
That
is brutal.
That's intense. That's like very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Would you accept a bribe? Would you even take it? Would you even apply for that job, first of all?
Right? Can you imagine, showing up for your first day of work, ready to go? Here we are. And, how you, have that awkward situation where if you, at least, my office is really tiny, so if anybody in our office was replaced, it would just be, there's always that awkward situation where you're coming into somebody else's shoes and you're like hoping that you fill their shoes and that you measure up to however great they were or what have you. Can you imagine like walking in and being like, here's the chair we made of the last person who had this job. Holy shit.
Exactly. Here's what happened to the last person that failed.
Oh my God. I would be like gone so fast.
And especially it being your father.
I mean, that's terrible.
That's
feel
awful.
like,
and they were so like there were so many like I don't know what was going on, like who came up with these, but like they were really bad at like they would pour like molten gold down people's throats.
that just seems like a waste of gold.
They didn't care. They would and then another really bad way was they would put you in this huge like hollow tower that was filled with nothing but ashes, and it had wheels in it, and at the top was a sliding platform, and the criminal would be taken to it and thrown in. So he would be thrown in this huge hollow tower of ashes and would plummet down into the center. And obviously if you fall, like they probably broke some bones. But the ashes would keep them, alive long enough to suffer a more slower, more brutal death. So they would then turn the wheels into motion, swirling the ashes around to force them into the convict's nose and mouth, where he would then inhale them and suffocate on the burned ashes until he died.
That sounds awful.
Uh-huh.
That kind of brings into play some of like your fear of like falling and stuff like that.
It's kind of
plummeting
like a mixture
through
of
ashes
both.
Is like.
It's kind of a mixture of both.
Ugh.
And that even more than a few people face that death, and it even actually shows up in the Bible, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
When a corrupt Jewish priest is killed by the Persians in the Tower of Ashes, when he dies, his family isn't allowed to bury his remains, and that, according to the Bible, was just what he deserved.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they were.
That must be Old Testament. I'm imagining. Yeah,
but they were very fond of they were also fond of the triple death, so they believed that if you were really bad, you deserved to die more than once. So it's essentially like they would make them essentially die 3 deaths before they were allowed to stop breathing.
I wonder if that was symbolic of like mind, body, spirit.
Yeah, it's like they wouldn't actually die, but they would go through the agony of death.
Yeah.
So, there was one case where this woman, apparently the wife of Cyrus the Great, was she had been angered by this man. Like, can you just imagine? Like everybody, you angered me. Triple death for you.
Oh, God, that's terrible. That's like if they gave us power for like one day, like unchecked power.
Yeah, right, exactly. So,
and it was a bad day. Like
it was a really bad day. So once, so she first had his eyes pulled out of his head. And then, once he'd recovered, so they, pulled his eyes out of his head and then nursed him back to health. To which, afterwards, they then filleted him alive. And then also nursed him back to health after that. After filleting bits of his skin off, they finally crucified him.
That's a bad way to go, too. I was reading some about crucifixion this week, and that's, really... your arms dislocate, and... I think the way that... At least what I read, your arms dislocate, and it's a mixture of, starvation and then, your lungs filling up with fluid, and that's what kills you. It's not good.
Yeah, so that's just a few of the ways that the Persians were just really bad with their deaths.
Yeah.
None of which I care to ever experience in my life.
I would agree with you. Yeah, history is kind of...
People were twisted, man.
Yes. Yeah. People were pretty fucked. But there is one force, I guess you could say, that is better at killing us than we are, perhaps, and that is nature.
Oh, hell yes.
Yes.
Nature, you scary.
Nature, you scurry. So I kind of went a different route, because everybody, like, I thought about doing, like, medieval torturing and, like, things like that, but everybody kind of knows about, like, the Iron Maiden, which, by the way, that wasn't real. Did you know that?
The Iron Maiden wasn't real?
It's not a real torture device. It was based on something that may or may not have been real, but it was actually, like, made up by these guys in the 19th century who, like, were trying to compare, like, how awful and bloody and terrible history was at that point compared to, like, the contemporary piece and stuff. Yeah, it wasn't.
I always thought it just,
real.
like, it was like, you know, because it punctured you just enough
Yeah.
to, like, cause pain.
Yeah.
So that they could get answers from you.
I think it was based on something that was real, but it wasn't. I think it was made up in the 19th century. It wasn't like supposedly it was used during the Spanish Inquisition, but, like, it actually isn't a thing. You should Google it. It's very, very interesting. There's an article about it online. But yeah, so I thought maybe an interesting take would be to look at some of the stranger ways to die in nature. My favorite of which was dissolving in a volcanic hot pot.
A what? A hot pocket?
A hot pocket? A hot pocket?
Dissolving in a volcanic hot pocket.
I mean, it sounds so much nicer when you
true,
consider a volcanic hot pocket.
I mean, but it's true.
I mean, when you heat them in the microwave, do they not feel volcanic?
It's fucking death by a fucking hot pocket. I'm going to tell you what.
Yeah.
Eat a hot pocket at your own risk.
God.
Put that on the side of that fucking
true. I used to
radioactive, like, heating pouch that they put in there.
So I wouldn't eat Hot Pockets because I was a Husky kid and I had a complex at that point in time.
Wait. You didn't eat Hot Pockets because you were a Husky kid?
So I had a complex. So I would get the Lean Pockets. They were green, so you knew they're healthy. Yeah. Lean Pockets. It's not as fun. It's not.
Bitch, I was the exact opposite, honey. I was a Husky kid because of the Hot Pocket.
I mean, I think I'm just a born Husky kid, but yeah, no, I would have the lean Pockets, and they were just as freaking molten lava hot. So anyway, they lied to me.
We really went way over here to the left.
way to Hot Pocket land and Lean Pocket land to Pocket land. So
Pocket Podcast.
Bringing it Pocket Podcast.
Pocket Podcast.
Pocket Podcast is going to be our spin-off series. It'll be 20-minute episodes where we just literally eat Hot Pockets and talk about our day.
How many spinoffs do we have now?
You're probably like 18.
Okay. All right. Serious. It was a pod. You said a pod.
A pot.
Pot.
A pot. So a volcanic hot pot. A volcanic. He's trying so hard not to laugh. He cannot let go.
Pot. Okay.
Okay. Hot pot. Yes, it's a pot and it's hot. So, basically, like what volcanic hot pots are, if you can keep your shit together. They're geothermal pools. They can be either alkaline, which is basic for all you basic bitches. There's a science joke for you.
I'm just gonna start calling all these basic bitches alkaline.
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 Girl, you are so alkaline.
Why is she so alkaline?
I'm gonna do that. I'm trying to find a really good pun for the March on Science or March for Science.
March on
Science. Oh my god.
Damn.
I'm against science.
I'm gonna have to. That might be the first edit I ever have to do.
That's true. No, the March for science. It's a march on Washington for science, because our government hates science right now. But I'm trying to think of a really good basic pun to make, like, basic and acidic. Kenny's giving me such a look. I feel like he's so disappointed. I'm just wondering when
we went over into the science podcast now.
It's the science podcast. No, if anybody has any really good ones, send them to me. Send them to us, because I need to represent science clearly. Anyway, so geothermal pools that will burn you to death. Here we go. They can either be alkaline or acidic, and they're always super, super, super hot. And the water temperatures are always bubbling just below boiling. And apparently, these geothermal pools appear obviously where there's volcanic activity, and apparently, like, they cited Yellowstone in the article that I was reading about this, and everybody knows that Yellowstone right now, knock on wood, is dormant. But apparently the geothermal system that's beneath it and the geysers and stuff aren't. So that's why, like, people go to Yellowstone National Park and they can, like, get in, like, the natural springs that you can get in where it's warm. I've heard about those, yeah. So it's that, but, like, if those, like, I guess if whatever wellspring is feeding that geothermal pool that you're in, like, usually it's, like, a nice, like, 80 degrees or so that you kind of, like, chill, and it's like jacuzzi
bubbly
temperature.
80 degrees, yeah.
But if for whatever reason, like, that geothermal system that's feeding that pool is, like, filling itself for that day, like, those temperatures can rise quick. And then you're in a volcanic hot pot. So apparently in this other geyser basin, it's called Norris Geyser Basin, this guy fell into it, and it was, like, super, like, this particular geyser was, had extremely acidic waters, and they were super heated. And so he fell in, and he got third-degree burns, like, almost immediately, which means that all 3 layers of his skin were basically damaged first, then blackened, then leathered.
Yeah.
So he basically turned into, like, the pit of an avocado.
Ugh.
Like, immediately. And his skin basically ripped apart, and this is awful. This should be terrifying to every husky out there. Hold my hand.
Okay, I'm holding.
His subcutaneous fat boiled away. Can you imagine how much fat we would have boiling? Like,
I might be good to get out, though.
It's not.
I might have a little extra to get out.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I might have to sacrifice some subcutaneous fat. I love my subcutaneous fat.
So basically, the only positive side of it is that he wouldn't have felt much pain because due to the third degree burns, his nerve endings were burned away, like, really quickly. So, and then the heat of it, like, the shock of being, like, human beings run at, like, what are we, 97.7? What are we? What's our 98.7?
Our
internal body No, our internal body temperature.
I like 107.5, but that's fine.
I feel like that is not. I feel like you shouldn't be 107.5.
No,
I think it's 98.7.
It's 98 something.
I have people in my life who understand medicine. They're here for this reason. I don't understand anything about it. They keep me alive. I love them for that.
High 90s is where you want to be.
Right. High 90s is a nice temperate vibe.
Yeah.
But apparently going from that to going to, like, hundreds of degrees or whatever in this geothermal pool, like, apparently he would have just totally blacked out.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah. So.
Was this a younger guy? Because I think I remember reading about
this. I don't know. I don't know, like, I don't know what his age was, but within less than a day, his body, including his skeleton, had just completely dissolved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that because I think it was. I think he was with his sister, and really? I think what happened was he put his toe in. He put his toe in first. they were like off the, I guess, I don't want to say like off the grid, but off the, I guess they were somewhere they shouldn't have been, essentially.
Oh. I mean, clearly, because I'm sure they have those things roped off.
Yeah, and he put his toe in to test it, and I think he, like, slipped and fell in. And what's worse is I think his sister had recorded, like, she was recording on her phone, like, recording them when it happened.
There's a video of it?
Yeah, well, it's not, because when I was reading about that, I think the police have it. I mean, it's not released or anything like that, but yeah.
Oh my God. That's awful. That's terrible. Ugh. Yeah. No.
Damn, nature, you scary.
I mean, for real. Yeah, volcanic hot pots. Stay away from them. Mm-hmm. Hot pockets. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Not hot pots.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want it. So, how are we on time? Are we all right?
We're about 45 minutes in.
Okay. All right. So, I thought it might be fun to, when we think of death, we usually think of our death because we're humans and we're self-centered, and that's how we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it might be cool to expand our awareness, our consciousness, if you will, to include worst ways to die that don't necessarily happen to human beings. Necessarily. So that's my segue into just really wanting to talk about...
Was that a segue, Caitlin?
It was.
Was that really a segue?
It was. I just want to talk about the spider wasp.
The spider wasp?
Yeah. So, there's this wasp in Costa Rica. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's this wasp in Costa Rica who... basically they lay their eggs on the backs of these spiders, and yes, they lay their eggs, and then somehow the eggs like end up getting into they lay the eggs on the abdomen, and then the egg hatches and it becomes attached to the spider, and it lives like the baby egg, or the baby spider, I guess, lives on its abdomen and sucks its blood for nourishment on the spider.
Okay.
Yes. And the spider just totally does its business like normal, and it's just living and chilling. And then at that, like after that, like it kind of, the wasp sort of, it's kind of hard to explain. Like it kind of goes into the spider and like mind controls it. And it basically makes the spider like weave a cocoon, and it makes the spider like do all this shit for it. Like it basically mind controls. It mind controls zombies, the spider.
Okay.
And then like once all that stuff has been done, the spider crawls to the center of the web and just sits there. And then the larva molts and basically rips the spider apart.
Okay.
So it kills the article that I read about it was so funny. This quote is hilarious. So it says the larva molts, kills the only companion it has ever known, which is so sad. It's so sad. Well, sucks any remaining useful bits from its corpse and then discards it.
What a bitch.
Then it builds its cocoon on the web that was custom built for the job. A few weeks later, the adult wasp emerges and flies away, and the cycle starts over.
So the mother wasp never comes back to, like, collect
no
the babies.
No.
What a bitch.
Yes.
I think...
And, like, the web that the spider weaves when it's, like, all zombified, when the wasp is, like, sucking its blood and stuff, like, apparently, like, we all know normal spider webs are these intricate designs that are so pretty, or at least I think they're pretty. But the webs that spiders weave when they have this, like, wasp larva on them, it's basically, like, they just repeat the first few steps over and over. So, basically, it's a really small web that's, like, super reinforced. So it's not like intricate designs. It's basically just like a really thick web that's like just enough space for the larva to cocoon.
That's some shit.
Isn't it? It's so sad. Like, I read it and I was just like, oh, man. Like, it's...
And this poor spider, like, I
fucking hate wasps.
I don't think I've ever... I fucking hate spiders, but, like... I don't think I've ever felt more sorry for a spider.
It's so sad.
And I don't even like the sons of bitches.
The only companion it's ever known.
Well, that's for the larva, but the larva kills its only companion.
I know, but it's like that age-old story. You know what I'm going to do? The story of, like, the scorpion and the turtle or whatever. What is that? Like, the scorpion and the rat. What is that?
I don't know. The scorpion and
It's something that can swim real good. Shit.
I don't think a scorpion can swim real good.
No, haven't you heard it? It's from... It's quoted... I mean, it's quoted all over, but it's also... It's in a horror movie. It's like the scorpion and the turtle, or the scorpion and something that can swim really good. And it's like the whole point of the story...
Frog?
Yes, the scorpion and the frog. The turtle would have a shell. See, the turtle is prepared. But the story of the scorpion and the frog, where the scorpion asks the frog for a ride over on his back, and the frog says, "No, you're gonna sting me, and then I'm gonna die." And the scorpion says, "Why would I sting you if, you're giving me a ride?" And so the frog says, "Okay, cool. I'll give you a ride." And then the scorpion gets on the frog's back, and then halfway across the pond, the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog says, "Why did you do this?" And he says, "It's just in my nature." It was quoted in some movie. It may have even been in Silence of the Lambs. Like, I feel like Hannibal Lecter tells that story. At some point, maybe.
Apparently it's a recent fable. It essentially just talks about how certain natures just cannot be reformed.
Yeah. Like, the whole point is the scorpion says it's in his nature. So I guess it's in the nature of the wasp larva to just destroy its host.
So apparently there is actually a scorpion and the frog. I mean, no, a scorpion and the turtle.
Oh, what's that one about?
It's actually Persian. It's actually Persian.
Oh my god. Is it where the scorpion tries to sting the turtle, and then the turtle has the shell, and it's like, bitch, and then it just drops him in the lake, and then he drowns? And then
it very well could be.
And then they feed him milk and honey until he shits himself?
It very well could be. We're fact-checking this right now. A scorpion, being a very poor swimmer, asked a turtle to carry him on his back across a river. "Are you mad?" exclaimed the turtle. "You'll sting me while I'm swimming and I'll drown." "My dear turtle," laughed the scorpion. "My dear turtle."
This sounds like the same story.
How
does the scorpion laugh?
You would drown and I would go down with you. Okay. You're right. Cried the turtle. "Hop on." The scorpion climbed aboard and halfway across the river gave the turtle a mighty sting. It's the same story.
It is. I told you it was a thing with the scorpion and the turtle.
So I guess it's the same thing. It could either be a frog or it could either... But
it's Persian.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I feel like... I mean, how is it...
How do you go sting a turtle? He must have got him in the head.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one.
I don't think so. I think maybe he tried to sting the turtle, and the turtle was like, "Bitch," and just slid him right off his back.
Can't trust a damn scorpion.
You can't. Or a wasp larva, apparently.
Not at all.
That's Costa Rica.
That kind of reminds me of Alien a little bit. Where they just like the host and then it just fucking explodes out.
Well, there's a mushroom. I didn't want to expand it like quite that far to like plant life, but apparently there's like this mushroom thing that I read about many, many years ago. And it is in like a rainforest or something, probably also Costa Rica. But it's a parasitic mushroom that like grows on the back of these grasshoppers, and it literally, like the plant, the mushroom, literally grows out of the grasshopper's body.
Ooh.
And the grasshopper's still alive and like walking around with, like, yeah, you can like Google pictures and see like the grasshopper's like walking around and it's just got like a mushroom just growing out of its body. Eventually the mushroom gets so big that the grasshopper like explodes or whatever.
Well, it's funny. I guess it's not funny, but I'm like, it sort of connects back to nature and what I do, but there are also, there's another really really horrible death where they that involves bamboo.
The Persians?
No, this isn't the Persians. This is the Persians. I think it has.
Every terrible death, I'm just going to be like, did the Persians do that? Was that the Persians?
No, I think it has. I think this has a. I think this started in China. I could be wrong. I don't know, but from what I read is they would take the person and put them above a bamboo, above a baby bamboo shoot, and they would secure them there because bamboo is known to grow really super fast, and that's where and the bamboo shoot would grow
through the person.
Oh,
fuck that!
And it would grow through the person, essentially up their anal cavity, most likely.
Oh, so it was like a Vlad the Impaler type of situation, but with bamboo instead of stakes.
Bamboo, and it's nature growing through you. That's awful.
Yeah, so I want to be a tree when I die, but not before I die. Is the thing.
Coming back as a bamboo shoot coming up.
Fuck.
That would suck. I guess that could lead into so how would you want to be how would you want to after we've died our horrible deaths.
Right.
How do you want to be memorialized? You said, I've seen where some people would do those, like a glass, or they'll take your sphere, or they'll take your ashes and mix them into a glass orb, and
I think that's actually really cool.
And mix them into that?
I'm into that, but I'm scared that my soul would be trapped in the glass sphere.
I love that.
I'm not trying to be trapped for all of eternity in glass sphere, though, honey. Waiting on my ancestors who'd probably treat it like a prized relic to fucking drop it so I can be free. Jesus. No.
It's like a Horcrux.
I want to be planted. I want to be put into one of those little cups that turn into trees. I want to do that. I mean, whatever it is. Yeah, whatever it is, I want to be buried in the ground. I want my nitrogen and all of the energy that I, have borrowed during my time on Earth. When I'm done with it, I want that to go back into the earth, into the womb, and nourish, life on Earth and nourish trees.
So you want your energy to be, you take the energy that you have and give it back to Mother Nature.
Yeah, I think that's the way it's supposed to be. I've always been uncomfortable with things that aren't quite that. I mean, basically, I believe that every bit of energy is recycled and spun back into the earth. I think that what makes up our world is woven together, is lots of energy strands that have just been reused and reused and reused, woven together to create reality. So I think, everybody's energy eventually is recycled. But, yeah, I think I'm in the ground, in the dirt.
In the dirt.
Taking a dirt nap.
And we'll be in the dirt.
What about you?
I don't know. I always thought it would be cool. I've always been a little weird about, the whole idea of donating your body to science. But, at the same time, I thought, damn, I would want to be, it would kind of be cool to be, plasticized in, the body exhibits that they do. And I just want to just be, this really, really creepy,
and here we have system. The husky.
And here we have the history of the husky. And I've got a Hot Pocket in my hand.
Oh my God, yes.
I'm just eating a Hot Pocket.
Perfect.
That's how I would go.
You're burning yourself on a Hot Pocket
I'm
for
eating
all of
a Hot
eternity.
Pocket, and it just shows. And then that's how they talk about heat transfer and how burns work. You know what I mean?
There you go.
On the body, and then I would educate people.
The thing is, I really want to go to the body exhibit, but also I'm convinced that whoever made it is a serial killer.
Probably
100% a serial killer. It's fascinating. I'm intrigued, but have we checked on whoever came up with that? Because maybe just look into the background a little bit. make sure there's not any.
Yeah, the only thing about that is, please, I would just be really mad if they just put me in, like, a position that was, like, not me. Like, don't put me on, like, a fucking horse.
They dress you like a hipster because you're from, like, this era and time?
Yeah, that'd be the
They give you a man bun?
I'd have to have very specific instructions on how I want to be displayed.
I wonder if they allow you to, like, be that choosy about it.
Maybe. Who knows?
They probably do, because then when you're dead, it doesn't matter anyway. We can do whatever we want, sir.
So.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there you have it, folks.
All the horrific, brutal, metal ways in which you can just fucking die on this earth.
Fucking die. In ways that
and not even and not even like and not even all the ways, because you could literally make this into like a 37-part episode.
We literally could make a podcast just about this. Like, this is a deep dark hole that you can fall into if you want to Google around on the interwebs. Like, it's.
And who knows? We might revisit it someday in the future.
Maybe.
There might be a part 2. Who knows? But we're talent, so we can just keep coming up with different things. So don't expect it.
Yeah, okay. Sure.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to us on this evening.
Thank you for listening.
Daytime, whatever it is. But right now it's evening, as always. And it's dark.
It's always evening in the Haunted Heart podcast studio.
And it's always lit by candlelight.
That's true. So, follow us. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. We're not on Twitter that much, but we're on there if you want to follow us. We
YouTube
are kicking around. Yes, YouTube. If you're listening at work, I hear you. I see you listening. Thank you. Plug into your computer. Do not unplug your headphones because you will get fired from your job.
We don't want that.
No. Rate us, review us. Come hang out with us on social media. We really want to hear from you guys. We're going to get the Facebook group up and running. There has been some interest in that. Let us know if it's something that you would be interested in joining a Facebook group to kind of chat with us on there. We'd both be on there, obviously, and active. Hang out with us on Instagram.
Hell yes.
We just posted, for those of you who haven't listened to episode 5, you should definitely go back and listen to episode 5, but we actually posted a little field trip that we did to the hotel that we discussed in part of episode 5 as part of one of the cases that we covered there. So that was kind of cool. So hang out with us. We want to hear from you.
Please
be our friend, please.
Come play with us.
We want to talk about death and cool shit. So, anyway, thank you for listening.
And as always, what is it today? Is it creepy, spooky? I think it changes every episode.
It does change. So, how about stay
morbid?
I like it.
All right. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Stay morbid.
How do I stop this fucking thing?